What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another exciting episode of Tech Productions. Today, Bancroft, and bringing you all something new and endearing to my heart. Something I wanted to do a long time ago, but it wasn't until Adam from our shop kind of started talking to me about it more, and we started kind of putting it together. Today is the first match of our Time Wars. It is Son Goku taking on the Red Ribbon Army, much like in the Dragon Ball show. We saw that fight kind of play out, and we wanted to bring it into the card game. Now, a couple rules about this particular setup is that these decks need to be very archetyped to the theme of the era of that moment in the fight. And so much like this, like Ribbon Army, needs to be primarily, cards for this deck and not like just good blue cards. Today I am being joined by both Jake and Adam
What's going on, y'all?
Hey, everyone.
in today's Team Wars match. So let's get into this fight, and we'll kind of talk about the decks. Also, there is no secret rares. We want the decks to be a little more fair in that instance. Also, most secret rares do nothing for the deck anyways, except for the new Gohan, but we're way from that one. We'll figure that one out later when we get to it. Well, let's start this fight. So it is me and Jake, and we decided the way we did is we kind of like had Adam made a form of all the decks we were going to be doing, and everyone kind of put what they were interested in playing, and we kind of went from that moment. And then after everyone kind of put what decks they wanted to play and what ranking they would hope to have, or what ranking they wanted, desired they wanted to play the decks, then we kind of matched everything up and kind of get everyone the best that they wanted. And Jake was one of the few people who did Kid Goku, and also at our shop, Jake is kind of known for this deck more than anyone else. He kind of played it. It was both, I think it was you and Fluff who kind of primarily played at this shop. So it's going to be either one of you guys who got it, and you got it. And I told Adam straight up, I'm playing Red Ribbon Army because I was the only person who actually played it at our shop. And I figured it'd be easier that way. So, well, since Jake, you start your turn, and we got your energy, we're seeing you going a more red build, and you have Grandpa Gohan there.
Yeah, so we were trying to keep in theme with, like what the characters would kind of have access to in the show, and I thought what better cards to include than the Ghost Arc cards, with Spike and Bandages and Grandpa Gohan and Baba and all that good stuff. So I figured Red and Black would be kind of interesting, and really gave the deck a unique spin, because you see a black leader, you kind of expect black cards, but there's not a lot of black cards from the Dragon Ball, portion of the show's run. So I kind of had to improvise here, and I'm ultimately happy with what I came up with.
Yeah, when you put it down, I'm like, oh, very interesting. And like I mentioned, these decks need to be majority archetype theme. There's still obviously space for tech because decks still need to be able to perform some way. And I completely forgot about a unique card that we'll see later on the road that Jake will play. But for those who aren't familiar with Kid Goku, it definitely functions around the idea of the one-drop Son Goku, Android 8, and the 4-star ball. And also, you get extra combo power for comboing off a skill list first time in a turn, right?
Yeah, on the backside, all your skilllesses become super combos, but you just don't draw the first time you combo with the skillless each turn. And then part of the card's awakening condition is you can awaken at 6 life if you have a skillless in the drop area. So we have a few ways in the deck to go grab a skillless or chuck it in the drop, or just combo with one early to go ahead and awaken.
And Red Ribbon Army, unlike Jake, I had more to work with right from the jump because we got a whole set based on this. So there was a few things I did tech in. When this deck came out, there was no Z deck, so I was able to kind of... I remember when I built this, I picked cards that I knew were created, obviously, by Red Ribbon Army, which are blue. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to try to go, if I can go long enough, I'll play these cards. If not, this engine could be beneficial on its own because... As you saw, when I swung with the Aider, it's a 15k naturally, which is pretty cool, and its interest is reduced if your leader is Red Ribbon Army. But on the leader swing, it pops a tier less, which then restands the energy. And because I popped a card, I'm able to play Commander Blue for 1 energy because of its auto, and that means it's a 20k that draws me a card, which is really good. And if you have this deck set up the right way, you can recur cards from your drop, because this set came out technically before Bandai started doing like all the unison hate stuff. So there's a particular Commander Red card that does Spirit Boost. So I had to figure out like a good unison, and once you get that going, you could cycle this. I think it's Captain Blue. I'm saying Commander Blue or it's General
General
Blue.
Blue?
It's General Blue. That's what it is. And you can cycle him back to the field off of the Spirit Boost effect, and then every time he's played, he's drawing a card. He's sending a card back to I think the hand, and then he gains 10k for it because it's just when he's played. It's not when he's played from hand. So it's just a really strong card. And I will say, getting the other Commander Red off the first Commander Red search ability was so clutch because on swing it searches the top 3 cards for a Red Ribbon Army card that is not that card, and it plays it. And just seeing the card I needed to see to start getting the engine going off on later turns felt really good. As you saw, I had one in my hand, so I was going to play it regardless, but just getting it off the bat was just really nice.
Did it feel better playing the Red Ribbon Army deck with a little bit more of a restricted format?
Wait, say again?
Did it feel a little bit better playing the Red Ribbon Army deck with kind of a more restricted format where there wasn't a bunch of, just red good stuff or blue good stuff decks with an SCR?
So the first time I played this deck, I kind of played it in the theme of its archetype, but I will say when building it, I didn't have to think about that aspect of it. I was like, okay, I could just go through it and then playing the engine, and I didn't feel like I missed the good blue stuff because you pay 1 energy for Pickle the Infiltrator, and you just swing twice of it, and hooray! The way I built this deck because of our restrictions, I have there I'm just fixing the timing. I messed up. I got the front side mixed with the back side of the leader. And on the back side is when you swing with Ribbon Army card, energy cost 2 or less, at the end of the battle, you pop it to restand energy. And this is where the deck kind of takes place, and this is why I felt like it didn't matter as much to me having the good blue stuff. Because
There's just so much archetype that you needed to include to get the deck running in the first place.
no, this unison is perfect. Because in the original deck for this, you had like I think it was Dr. Gero, and it was a really garbage unison. Like it was like a 1k unison that you could play a card, I think, from the drop, but you had to like remove a marker off it, but it was very weak and it was just so acceptable just being beaten down. Android 1718 allows me to gain a marker on every turn, my turn and my opponent's turn. So then every turn I'm able to just pay 1 for the Spirit Boost on this Commander Red to play that General Blue over and over and over every turn, and just getting a 20k swing that pops a card and draws a card. And it just felt good blue for me for this particular deck instead of having to struggle with what I'm going to have to do to try to like get a lot of swings in. And I still didn't know the full route what Jake was going to go with, but knowing he was going a more red deck, I did feel a little bit safer on certain pushes I was trying to go for. I don't know if that fully answered your question or not, but I just felt like the combination of these two cards on my board right now made it feel like I had good blue no matter what I did now because General Blue is in the drop.
Well, this is a really interesting match because it's basically going to set the precedent for how we kind of move forward in the Team Wars series. And so I thought that it was interesting that you chose Android 17 and 18, which technically are Red Ribbon members. So I think that that'll kind of open up people's deck building kind of restrictions to, really think a little bit outside the box, but still stay on theme.
Yeah. Because when I was pulling this up, I was like, oh man, I can get a unison to maximize this. I'm like, God, I looked at the binder. I'm like, that unison's so garbage. What am I going to do? The General Gero.
Right, yeah.
I love this towel. And this is also the reason why I felt comfortable with this. Like, I could just Spirit Boost the 2-drop back on the board, get its effects, swing with it. It would pop itself. So yeah, no, I do it this round instead. I pay the 1-drop, which draws me a card, swing with play towel for free practically by popping a General Blue, and then resend the energy, and then I can use that energy to play the other General Blue right afterwards. So like, it just felt good no matter what I did.
Yeah, there's just a lot of constant pressure. Luckily, I've got a little bit of a trick loaded up here on the board with the Android 8, and Kidku combination where I can like combo this away and remove something during battle. But yeah, it just felt like a ton of pressure coming from these two drops over and over again.
Yeah.
And that unison was a really good compliment. And here I go, just you removed an Earthling, so gonna come down with the Bunny Girl for a little bit of unexpected tech here. Get another blocker in play.
Bunny Girl was I was not expecting Bunny Girl at all. I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
also on theme, which is great.
which yeah, because she traveled with Goku and them.
Yep.
I'm not sure if you had the skillless Yamcha, which I thought was a great skillless choice as well for like what we were going for this particular matchup.
Yeah, and then the skillless Grandpa Gohan here is an Earthling that costs 4 or less, and it's a big 30k. And if I combo a 4-star ball into it, it's a 40k swing. So,
Do you play the Chi Chi that plays for free? The red Chi Chi blocker in your list?
no, I didn't think about
Okay.
including that card because I think it's like an adult Chi Chi, isn't it?
No, so
Well-
a lot of reason people don't think about that card is because it's Dragon Ball Chi-Chi, which is I think at the time like 13 or 14, but she's practically naked on the card, and people are like, I don't want to play that card because it's like, you know,
I didn't even know that existed.
yeah. I played it originally when I played the what I can't remember what red deck it was when it came out, but then Jimmy was like, "Ooh, you're playing that card?" I'm like, yeah, "You're right. I shouldn't play this anymore."
Poor Shane.
But no, I wasn't expecting Bunny Gore, which completely makes sense, you know?
Yeah, it's on theme with both the Earthling theme of the deck and the point in the timeline that I'm trying to like build my deck to.
Yeah.
You know, you see these unbreakable Super Saiyans, that's kind of out of the timeline, but in this Trunks as well from like Xeno, but most of what I included is pretty on theme. And I was really kind of inspired by the format restrictions to kind of go into the tank and look for something I hadn't played in a long time.
I will say, even though those cards aren't like in the format, like I said, to an extent, we're gonna have cards that won't like that aren't part of the theme, especially when it gets harder to figure out. Like this deck right here, you're right. There is no Dragon Ball Goku stuff really for that era, but I had a whole archetype to go off of, so it was like it was easier for me to build my deck than probably you. You had to kind of like think about the process first, because like yes, Bandages has blocker. You block, you play Spike. The problem with Spike now is that Spike doesn't have blocker. So in order to get the Grandpa chain out, you have to somehow get Spike to be KO'd, you know?
Yeah, and as long as people don't attack into him, then that doesn't really happen. Although if you get Bandages and Spike in play, I think you can pick them up to play the Grandpa and it gets an effect. But
Yeah.
you can see in this game that wasn't really working out for me, and I ended up just kind of using the Grandpas for energy.
Also, we did skip over it. You did mention it, but it hadn't happened yet. I love the tech that when you comboed off your Son Goku and to pop my 2-drop, I was not expecting that to be a play at all. I thought it had to be like removed or KO'd. And you're like, no, as if it just leaves the battle area. I'm like, that's stupid, but all right.
Yeah, I think the comment I had is sometimes old cards are broken because, like, the way it's worded is if a Son Goku childhood leaves your battle area. Well, putting it in the combo area definitely makes it leave the battle area. So, just kind of a niche wording thing that happened.
So I didn't know what you were trying to do here. And Grant, we didn't record this past weekend just because we were out. A lot of us were out of town. So this video is a little bit, maybe a week or two old, but you were swinging what these low cost cards are also, and I'm like, what are you trying? I don't like this because you had a lot of energy. I didn't know if you're trying to like combo up and then play another card off the combo or something. Do you remember by any chance?
Yeah, at this point, I'm just trying to build up a little bit of Z energy so I can win to something out of the Z deck here.
Gotcha.
And since you're spending negates to like keep that, I've already got the Z energy I need at this point, and you spent a lot of negates there, and I just kind of thought to myself, if I can hang on one more turn, I can come in with a really big push next turn, and maybe he's already spent all the negates.
Yeah. So here I kind of mentioned earlier, the Z deck was I was trying to be inspired by it, and so I dropped this card down. And you made a comment, you're like, that not Red Ribbon Army. I'm like, well, he was made by the Red Ribbon Army.
Yeah.
We call this stretching the theme.
So I think we ended up having to call it Judge here because I do have the Android 8 in play, and a Goku Childhood is about to leave my battle area.
But because
So we'll have to see what happens with the pending auto and all of that.
and we weren't sure if the idea is that because they're both leaving the same time, technically Android 8 isn't in play, so you wouldn't get the effect.
Right.
I can't remember.
I don't remember exactly how it ended up being ruled, but yeah,
I've
looks
seen
like that happened.
it happened. A similar thing happened to me a long time ago, like 2 years ago at Gen Con. I don't remember the exact. Like I was asking a question about the judge about something, or TCG Con, and I was like, "Is this very similar to this?" And Jimmy was looking at the two cards, and he's like, "Yeah, no." So unfortunately, you wouldn't get the effect because like they're all leaving at the same. Like it's they're all happening at the same time or something. Like I don't remember the exact ruling for it is. But I mean, you had two negates for myself, so you kind of stopped the crits from coming at you.
Yeah, that was nice, but getting my whole board wiped didn't feel very
Oh
good
no.
without an extra bunny girl in hand.
Yeah, you spent the whole day, the whole game trying to build up that board. Now it's just gone.
Yeah, kind of shows the power level difference between set 6 and set 16, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And just how like I felt like you had a decent board. Like if we did this before the Z decks, this turn would be completely different. You know, like I wouldn't have a way of just clearing your board like that. So I would have had to deal with your one blocker. You could have played spikes off that, and then you would have blocked the other attack with your bunny girl. You know, like you would
Yeah,
have been
combo
fine.
the spikes. Yeah.
I love that even the power burst is on theme in your deck.
Yeah, I use the Roshi art.
That is one of the few cards that's had two arts. So here, this is where we get stretched. There's no Z deck really for this set, so for this theme. So, and that's okay. Like we're just here now. We're trying to make the decks the best they can be with as much theme as possible. And this is just a good Z deck for a red deck. Was not expecting it.
Yeah, you
I
get a
should have.
little bit of removal. You get some Z energy charging. You get good pressure. Like, this is one of the best Z cards they've ever printed, honestly. And it's generic enough that you can play it in a non-red leader. Like, good on Bandai for this one.
What's even better is that it, even though it costs 2 to play, 2 Z energy, you're getting those cards back into your Z energy every turn.
Yeah, as long as you have other Z energy outside of like what you spent on it, you can build back up and benefit from all the effects.
Yeah. Now, I wasn't expecting a second one. So here you're going to the attack, and I negate with Android 17. So now you have a cost in order to continue attacking. And when Vegeta swings, you next him by 10. So that's how you're able to get the cell. You mentioned removal. That's how you got rid of the cell earlier, and now you're cleaning out a token that could potentially block with, like, because you could have hit the 17 because your auto procs after.
Yeah, but it's already had its effect.
Yeah. And also, 17 Red Ribbon Army. I'm just saying, it works. But that negate does show like the difference compared to like, yes, it's a good blue card, and we may see this card used in other blue decks on the road that aren't like the Android related one because like the limitation on how many cards can need to be themed. But I don't think you have anything equivalent. Like you could have, I guess, played Topo, but no, I think you're Topo.
Protector of the people,
Protector
maybe?
of the people, yeah.
Like, that would be close.
And maybe this is another stretch as well, according to Adam. But I mean, she was created by Red Ribbon Army.
Yeah. I think that I mean, with the restriction in the pool that we have for Z battle cards, I think that I would allow it.
So the first Vegeta goes away because I'm trying to eat it. I don't remember I does she? I don't remember the card entirely on top of my head right now. Does she remove?
I think she stacks from Z, and then she gets to eat one of your opponent's battle cards.
And then you
Four
choose.
or less, I think.
Yeah, you may place a top card of your deck in your energy, which I don't know if I did. When this card's played, choose one of your opponent's battle cards, place at the bottom of the owner deck, and then the Z deck's the other one. Yeah. So in here, I was just like, I'm gonna swing, just combo up, and because she had triple attack at that point, or triple strike. Sorry.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, and in this instance, unfortunately, Goku is defeated by Red Army. They take him into their labs. They start analyzing his DNA, and then they make cyborgs with Saiyan DNA from here on out. And then they have a better way of protecting themselves in the future. And when the Saiyans come, they have an army of their own half-breed Saiyans, which we've learned are way better anyways. Thanks for tuning in for the first episode of Time Wars. I hope you all enjoyed. And our next fight